G'day, Nathan from ACA here. I'm going to talk some more about AutoCAD Architecture Roof Object, remembering that this object was first introduced in ADT1, AutoCAD Architectural Desktop version 1, and it hasn't been changed since, so it's still the same object. These tips are good for right through the whole series. So, what are we talking about? Curves. Let's have a look at some curves both in plan and elevation. Now, I thought that I could apply this to this line work, but for some reason it's not going to work. Whether I can actually do it, I'll have to get back to you on that. However, you will notice that it's two circles, not a true circle, and that's because it definitely can't do it to a circle. When you're doing wall objects, you can't create a complete circle in a wall. You can only create an arch, so you can't actually close that. If you're doing your elevations and you want to get rid of the lines, you can probably, for the most part, squeeze that around to somewhere, maybe back behind, where that's not going to be so noticeable. But for now, for creating the roof object, it's probably best that it's just two equal arcs. So I'm going to apply it from the palette, and that's the only place where you can actually apply to line work or to walls. So you get this right click option. I'm doing that too fast. Click on your roof. This is in the design tab, remembering that we can create our own roof if we want to. Copying this tool and then putting in all your own details here, and then you've got a custom design roof, but we're just going to take the standard roof, apply it to two arches, and we get these two roofs. If we flip to the properties palette and have a look at the edges, we see we get two edges. We see that we got a segment column, and I can change that to as many segments as I want, which obviously affects how smooth the curve is. So you can see one is smoother than the other. I can also change the radius, which means that that radius of that circle becomes greater. Notice that it's clicking to the two endpoints, that the center point is not saved. Alright, what else can we do? We can give it overhang. We can do all the things that we normally do with the roof. That's having a heart attack there. That's what happens when you do really strange things. One of the things I generally like to work with it at Plumb. That's how our roofs look. You can also do that manually, so you can play with it. You can get all sorts of strange shapes. Remembering if it won't move, you can stretch and it won't do it anyway. But if we go back to our, oops, I did that the wrong way around, didn't I? So that's one of the things that you can do, is shift click on the correct one, and then just hit your return key, and it will set it to equal that. Now remembering that your eave column, which is useful in calculations, is actually that vertical distance, the fall off for that eave, for that pitch, falls 187. Alright, now you might want to do a curved roof. You might have curved portions on your roof, and so I want to show you how you can do that. Now, as I say, the only way to do a curve, you cannot trace a curve. The only way to get a curve is to apply to line work or walls. So that could be a wall rather than line work. Fantastic, does it easy. You've got the same tools. You've got one edge right around here that you can edit and make changes to. If you want that smoother, again, you can change the I don't know how high it goes up to. I didn't think it was that high, but you can get as smooth a look as you want to if you're trying to get something for rendering or something you want to get smoother. Now let's go back and apply an earlier trick. Say if I want this roof to pop up and to overhang each side, as they often do. And what I've done here is I've just traced a polyline, and it doesn't have to be a polyline, it could just be line work, or it could just be walls. But I've actually got a little fold back here And if you watch the earlier videos, you'd have an inkling of why I've done that. I've done it a set distance. I do that so then I can stretch the back part at that would normally be this when you're drawing it up. I can stretch it back so this distance it's a nice isosceles triangle. You can see I haven't done it here, so I'm going to show you what happens there. Oops. Apply it to line work, pick the line work, and voila. Not very useful so far. You can see what's happening here. We've got some clashes, but it did solve. Sometimes the square roof won't solve, but this one did. Now you can see some weird things happening here. What we need to do is for each of these 4 edges, I'm going to fix that problem up later, but I want to show you why it's a problem. We are going to, now remember we can't do these edges all together. We've got to do this lower dialog box one at a time, and that stops those edges from affecting the slope. Still not quite what we want. We want to get back to here, but just lift this roof up. We're going to go to these 3 edges, and you can see my roof is actually sitting at ground. It's sitting on the ground, not raised up like it normally would be, but we're just going to raise this bit up. So I'm going to put a height here, and you can see you've got one of them as a radius. That's fine, and it heals. We're going to go back in there, and I could have done this at once, but I want to show you, I want to show you what's happening. So we're going to just select those edges again, and I'm going to give it, hit the control key instead of the shift key, I'm going to give it some eaves, and you can see what happens here. Now that's anatomically correct. This, not so. And so what we do is stretch that. Now that is a roof object with overhanging itself. You see there? Now these lines here, as I've shown you before, can stretch up and down. And what I would generally do is stretch them so they're very close to those lines, so they basically disappear. Now I have my toolbox hidden here, but just to show you that respect. Alright, and it's basically what you want, and it's all completely still movable. Now again, you can see that I can't change that. Stretch will change it. If your roof has got a few different complications in it, it often doesn't like to move, but stretching it will still make it move. Okay, that's probably enough for this video. We'll come back, have a look at how to do some weird roofs, a little igloo there, some little cone-shaped circles, some concave roofs. There's lots of different things. Why you'd want to do them, I'm not sure, but just to give you an idea of the things that can do. You know, you can get all sorts of weird and wacky shapes out of this thing. Cheers.